Hello and welcome to the Everything is Black and White podcast. It's time for episode 9 of Get in the Bin with me, Andrew Musgrave. And
Runaway series leader, Sam Mulliner.
so you had to start with that, didn't you? I was going to compliment you on the fetching little number that you're wearing for those who are listening on the podcast channel. Sam, just explain to our listeners exactly the kind of jersey you've got on.
Is it the stadium jacket? I think the technical term is it the stadium jacket I'm wearing? It's essentially, I've just gone mad in this sale, the kind of end of the line of Castor sale. I've just bought anything and everything that is in my size. But I think it's the stadium jacket. It's the snazzy, lots of snazzy colours on it.
Yeah, it's got pink, blue. It's very tropical-esque, I think. Although I was going to say it looks like kind of flowers and palm, but it's not though. Is it? Is it like meant to be a design that looks like the stadium in Tyne Bridge, maybe?
Yes, I was going to say tropical is a bit far-fetched.
It does look quite tropical. It's very nice though. I might go and see if they've got any left in my size.
Yeah. Your sizes are a bit smaller than the ones I require. But yeah, look, no, there's plenty there.
Set that compliment up and you boom. Too easy, Sam. Too easy. Episode 9. Unbelievable. I didn't know we would even get this far, but we have got this far. Feedback's been wonderful. Thank you for everyone who's interacted. And we'll just talk up some excellent news that we got last week. That the podcast has been nominated not just for one award, but 2 awards. Best Sport Podcast for 2024. We won that one last year. And also, we've got the nod in the category of Best Video Strategy as well. So thank you to Sam for playing a part in the podcast. And thank you to you guys watching and listening, because without your support, your views, your comments, your shares of the episodes, we wouldn't have the audience to put it out to. So it is greatly appreciated. Sam looks like he's going to make a little quip. Go on.
No. Well, the thing is, we haven't actually spoken about this even like off camera. So I just wondering, do I get an invite because I'm not on the Chronicle payroll? Do I get a night on the town paid for by Reach PLC? Or am I invited to the awards? What are we going for a night out in London? What's the crack? Or are you just taking all the glory?
Oh, I'm not taking all the glory. This is very much a team effort, although I am for Hero of the Year, may I say so. So I might collect the prize wearing a cape, although lots of good people in that category, so not sure I'll win that. No, I don't know.
How many invites do you get for the big awards do then?
Oh, you've got to buy the tickets, you've got to buy a table. And to be quite frank, there is quite a few nominations for Reach PLC. You know, we've done quite well. We've got our rivals down in Birmingham coming up for the same 2 categories. Claret and Blue. There's a rugby podcast from Wales Online. There's a few more newsy kind of podcasts. So Reach PLC have done very well in the nominations.
But they make you buy your place at the awards. What kind of awards is this?
Oh, most awards do, Sam. Clearly, you're not a man who's been to many awards dues. You have to buy your ticket. You have to buy a seat, and usually it's quite expensive. And you get a nice bit of a meal, wine on the table. It's quite glamorous. Yeah, most awards do. In fact, every awards do. You tend to have to buy a ticket.
Oh, I'm not paying for that.
I know. Well, we'll have some high level talk to see what we can do. But yeah, great news. Thank you to Sam for his role in it, and once again to you guys for watching and listening. Shall we get on to episode 9?
Yeah, awards dues that make you pay for the the ceremony is mine.
Oh, we wouldn't get to any awards dues like this. That. Do you know what, Sam? For you, that was very funny. That's very funny. What are the scores at the moment? Remind me of how disastrous.
Ooh! Is it 7-3 to me?
That would be 10. That would be 10. So
yeah, but we had one week where we both had.
Oh, we did, didn't we? That's me batting my box. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think it is then in that case. So I've got plenty of time to make it up. And I'm confident about this one today, really confident, because I think it'll not just anger Newcastle United fans, which of course is the majority of our audience, but I think it'll anger most football fans. Shall I go first? Do you want to go first?
I will go first this week because I made you go first last week. My item this week is 5 substitutions in the Premier League. I think it only benefits the so-called big teams, the greedy six, the big teams who can just rotate their squad. And, if they're 1-0 down against a little minnow of the Premier League, they can then bring on £100 million players, 5 of them, and just really, turn on the afterburners and take full advantage of having the wealthy squad. I think it should go back to 3.
My first question with that is, where do you put Newcastle United within the kind of strength on the bench? Obviously, this season, the injuries have shown they haven't got the squad depth. But if everyone was fit and raring to go, you would have some star players on the bench. So my question to you, Sam, would be, if Newcastle had the strength and depth that Man City have got, that an Arsenal, Liverpool have got, would you still be putting this one on the table to get in the bin?
It's a very big if. And yeah, injuries this season we've just not had. We've not had it. We've not had it, have we? It's been a season that's been dominated by 2 goalkeepers and 3 kids on the bench. It's not one that's really affected us, other than trying to compensate with our injuries. But I think there is a bit of a tweak. Maybe there should be an allowance for players coming off injuries, players coming off injured.
You haven't answered me question there, though. You haven't answered me question.
What was your question? Sorry,
the question was that if Newcastle had a full roster of players, because I've just written them down here. So let's say everybody was fit and there wasn't suspensions.
Right.
You would potentially have a bench of Sean Longstaff, Elliot Anderson, Miguel Almiron, Jacob Murphy, Callum Wilson, Jamal Lascelles, and Dan Burn, and Lewis Hall or Tino Livramento. That's quite a strong list of names on that bench.
Yeah, you only need 3 of them.
But point being, if all that was available, and then they went.
Are we playing Isaac and Wilson up top together? Are we?
Well, Wilson's on the bench. Who would you be dropping out to play?
I didn't think you said Wilson, did you?
I did. I've got Wilson down there. He's there. He's there.
Okay, sorry.
My question was, if Newcastle had a full strength squad plus a few additions, would you still be arguing this item gets in the bin?
I'd love to know who these new additions are, because PSR has got in the bin. Remember? I still think it would be 3. 3 is adequate enough. I'm all for I'm all for having 9 players to choose from on the bench. That's fine. That doesn't really bother me. But yeah, just seeing like when we're beating Man City or whatever, and then like the subs that they can bring on, it's just absolute filth.
It is, but my point being, if that was the other way around, I'm pretty sure everyone listening to this would be going, I don't want to change it. Look what we can do. We can bring X, Y, Z off the bench. They're mint.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that you can have it's just a bit too far the other way. It's just a bit much.
Okay, so you want to kind of level it up for everyone, even if Newcastle had a full strength squad, which is very, very fair of you, Sam. Very nice of you. I'll come with you with my item now, and the one I'm putting on the table this week is the media loving for Manchester United. Now, I try to stay away from being club specific because people will look at it and say you're being a little bit bitter here, but there's just something about Manchester United and the coverage they get which does my nut in. And I'm talking about the way that it's always up and down. They'll go on this nice little run of form where maybe they win 2 and draw 2 and play all right, or usually they play absolutely awful and still get the win somehow. And they're back. They're back. They're going to be title challengers. And then they'll go on a horrendous run of form, and then it's all crisis. They're all at sea. And then they'll pick up a little bit, and it'll be, they're back. And it's just like, let's call Manchester United for what they are. Bang average. It goes all the way back to last season and even before last season. But last season, when they won the League Cup, it was, they're back. Then they eventually managed to get the better of Newcastle and get ahead of them in the league table. And again, it was next season they'll be title challengers. Next season they'll be battling with Liverpool, Manchester City. Well, I knew straight away they wouldn't be, because they were very fortunate. They got there to third, but okay, they weren't anything special. You can just see they're a bang average side, but there seems to be the want to push this narrative from certain outlets that Manchester United are still this big elite club in terms of what they can achieve on the pitch. And they're not. They're not. Not in terms of the Premier League, not in terms of the Champions League. They are second rate. And the narrative needs to just change to honesty and just call them for what they are. They're just bang average.
Yeah, can we put Liverpool in with that as well?
I think you can, but I think the narrative's slightly different there, because I think Liverpool are a good side. They're battling.
Yeah, but they haven't
the
always been.
No, they haven't. But obviously they have been at the right end of the table in terms of challenging for the title. Okay, last season they weren't, but as a whole, they have been up there amongst the elite. Whereas Manchester United haven't been, really since the days of Sir Alex Ferguson. And go on.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. The idea that Sir Alex didn't leave that role as neat and tidy as maybe he should have done for someone of his ilk and someone to have had that legacy. He got out at the right time, didn't he? And they haven't been the same since. Even some very, very top managers they've had there, Mourinho and Van Gaal, can't even resurrect the behemoth that Man United were under Ferguson. But yeah, they've always got friends in the media, a lot of them, all their big ex-players who have not made good coaches or managers or whatever than that. They're always in the media and always have that soft spot, whether it's for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or trying to defend the almost indefensible. So I don't disagree with your point whatsoever, really. The League Cup one is very irritating because we just played them at the worst possible time.
The League Cup didn't matter to them. That's the biggest frustration about that day. Is
yeah,
to us it mattered so much because Newcastle haven't won a title since 1969, and to Manchester United fans, I mean, you saw they didn't really hang about. They weren't in London for the experience. Yeah, there was. Yeah, exactly. And it was kind of, we're here, we've won it, but it's a second-rate cup. It's not important. I think even Ten Hag in the quarters or the semis had made a reference to it being kind of an afterthought because there were other things was priority. Whereas for Newcastle, it would have mattered so. It did matter so much, and it hurt so much because they were beaten again by an average side, and yet the plaudits Manchester United got for that were unbelievable. And it all goes back to what I said when I was introducing this point. There's a narrative that every time they do something reasonably well, they're back. And they're not. They are miles and miles away from being a top elite Premier League side and challenging for the title. They may get lucky next season and, for half a season be up there, but they will fall away because they've got a team of individuals. They haven't got a team spirit. They've got a manager who I would say will be lucky to be in a job come the start of next season. They have issues off the pitch. They've got a sense of entitlement, as you said, which I think does not help them at all. And they're just a crisis club, in my opinion. And it's about time that the outlets that want to push this narrative for Manchester United being back and being this brilliant team, brilliant squad, they just need to get real. And what they need to do is actually praise the teams in the Premier League who deserve it. There are plenty of teams. I'm not just talking about Newcastle because this season, it's not been brilliant, but
it's not been brilliant. But considering everything, we're at time of recording. This is before this weekend's games where we've got Tottenham at home. Yeah. Were it not for Paul Dummett's stupidity in the last minute against Everton, we'd be above them.
Yeah, I know.
But
yeah, that's the point, isn't it? And I think there's teams like Wolves, Brighton, and West Ham as well. They deserve praise for the jobs being done there. David Moyes, Gary O'Neill. Yet, no matter what they do, could you imagine if Ten Hag had won the Conference League or what have you? the narrative would have been out of this world. But those managers they never seem to get the praise they deserve, and it always seems to be overshone by praise and unnecessary praise for the so-called top clubs. And you're right about the league table, Sam, because I think Newcastle stand a really good chance of finishing above Manchester United. And I mentioned on the Monday show a couple of weeks back, there was a graphic that went round, and it would have been, well, at the time this goes out, it would have been 3 rounds of fixtures ago, and it had the race for the top 4, and it had Spurs and Villa and Manchester United in this league table graphic.
No,
I'm not going to name the media company that put it out, but for me, that just sums up the desperation from some to push Manchester United consistently into the picture. And to a degree, I get why it's done because of the global audience they've got. You know, they're probably the most watched and supported team in the world. So, of course, the media outlets are going to talk about them and try and drum them up, especially when you've got a big game and what. I get it, because that's going to get people eyes on you. It's going to get you engagement. It's going to get people watching your stuff. But the truth of the matter is, they're awful. They really are awful. And despite everything Newcastle have been through this season, they stand a fantastic chance of finishing above them. And yet, when them season previews come out for next season, Sam, you can guarantee 1 or 2 people will be tipping them to come back and finally get to the level of City, Liverpool, or Arsenal, which is just laughable, absolutely laughable.
Yeah, they're at a bit of a, not a crossroads, a T-junction, because with them making moves with Jim Radcliffe, and obviously they're going to get Dan Ashworth off us eventually. Bringing in Jason Wilcox or whatnot, it'll be an interesting move whether or not these guys can actually cut the mustard and turn things around there, or are they just going to be mercenaries who have just left their jobs to the highest bidder? Because for me, trying to be as impartial as possible, I just can't see why Dan Ashworth would want to leave Newcastle to go to Manchester United when everything at Newcastle at that time has such boundless potential. And then to go to Man United, which were kind of yesterday's team, and like you say, are just trying to get back to where they once were. I think their era has gone, and they will come again eventually. But I don't think there's any signs of that happening anytime soon. But money talks. They're ones that, despite being billions in debt, they can, they have PSR on their side, so everything is in their favour, so they can spend what they want. And yet I would enhance your point as well that Man United players are often looked at through rose-tinted spectacles as well, because they'll have some, Kobe Mainoo is flavour of the week. There's been plenty of players that have come through in his mould that have lasted 5 minutes. Januzaj was supposed to be the next big thing. Makeda was supposed to be the next big thing. There are plenty of others. It's just, I don't know. And then they're just rushed. Like Mainoo rushed into the England setup. Why?
Because it's Manchester United.
If he'd have done the exact same thing for Everton, he'd be nowhere near that England squad.
Well, this is the point. The last England squad that was picked, when you check the stats between Mainoo and Miley had a better all-round stats.
Should Miley, and when they played against each other, Miley absolutely dominated Mainoo. Yeah.
Should Miley be in the England squad? Not a chance. There's not realistically. I mean, in an ideal world, you wouldn't have Mainoo or Miley anywhere near that England squad. But again, I do think there's a factor that plays for Manchester United. It does help. And it's interesting because the next point I was going to make was about Mr. Gareth Southgate. I mean, if you want to try and save a crisis club, I'm not Southgate's biggest fan. I'm not really sure pointing Gareth Southgate's going to help you very much. It'll be certainly
do it.
I would love to see it happen, though.
Do it. I think do it. Please do it. I think it'll be a match made in heaven. Do it. I can't wait. It'd be like, watching the Titanic sink. You can't watch, but you can't not look away. It's just, do it.
It's kind of like that at the moment already, isn't it? With Ten Hag, it's already at that stage where you just sometimes
But at the moment,
and laugh.
they do get results. They're still sick.
So lucky.
Yeah, they are.
That Brentford game, how they came out of that with a point.
Yeah, absolutely battered for 90 minutes. I like like when we played them at St James's, the most one-sided 1-0 you could ever watch, and then the game after the League Cup final, that could have been 5 or 6, and they could not have objected to the scoreline in any way, shape, or form. They got they were absolutely just bullied in every sense of the word that day, and we're very lucky for it to just be 2-0. The League Cup final, weirdly, I got over very quickly. I'm struggling to come to terms with our Champions League exit more than I was the League Cup defeat. I don't know. I don't suppose many people will feel the same. But that's just me. We should not have let that Milan game at home slip. That really narked me. It bothers me more than the League Cup final, even though had we won it, I'd still be there now. Yeah, it's so annoying.
No, I get that. Just to reaffirm the point though about the kind of loving for Manchester United, right? So I think I can name the BBC without getting bothered here. I've gone on to the website, and obviously you can click on the club and they've got the rolling coverage for that club. So for instance, you click on Newcastle and it's all about Eddie Howe's press conference and what he said this morning, because we're recording this on Friday morning after Eddie Howe's press conference. So he's talking about injuries, talking about Joe Linton. You then click on the Manchester United page, and for whatever reason, well, I will just actually scroll down to the same time. Nope. Yeah. So yeah, I was just being so at 8 on Friday morning, hopes of a 5th Champions League spot dented, and that's due to Liverpool getting defeated by Atlanta and by Leverkusen beating West Ham, which means the chances of the Premier League getting a 5th Champions League spot, severely dented. Now Newcastle, how many points behind Manchester United at the moment? 2,
Yeah.
3, 2. So why on earth on the feed for Manchester United is that 5th place Champions League story in there, and 2 points behind you, Newcastle United, nowhere to be seen? If that does not sum up my point, I don't know what will.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to dent Aston Villa more than anything, unless we, beat Spurs at the weekend, which hopefully we had. If you are listening, although I think it'll be tough because their 4-2-3-1 will exploit other gaps in our system. But this is the day before the game. Hopefully, I've been massively proved wrong. Yeah, I don't know why. It just doesn't, because Man United have not been in the top 4 race for months and months.
It's not even on the West Ham page, who are a point behind Manchester United. Absolutely baffling at the time of recording, as Sam said there, because we are recording it a day before the Spurs game. Man United got Bournemouth on Saturday, which I think will be a close run thing. But yeah, I think I've exhausted my point really. Are you in agreement? Are you going to come back at me with something about subs that's going to make me change my mind?
No, I'm enjoying slagging off Man United. We've got to go to Old Trafford as well this season. The last week of the season, the fear factor of going there is completely gone now.
Oh, definitely.
Completely gone.
Years ago.
Yeah, we should be going there looking to do the repeat of what we did in the League Cup earlier this season and take the game to them and absolutely dominate. Yeah, I don't even, like you mentioned the BBC, I'll stick up for them a little bit because I don't think they're anywhere near as guilty as some other outlets when it comes to, this is Manchester United we're talking about. But, when you've got people like your Nevilles, your Keanes, and all them guys at the forefront.
To be fair to those, and you're right, the BBC is not the worst culprit, and there's other media outlets, but to be fair to Keane and Neville, they are often quite brutal and honest in their analysis of Manchester United,
Yeah.
which is refreshing. And I know a lot of people complain when Neville's on co-commentary of Manchester United playing, but actually he is pretty much down the line when it comes to being honest about the situation. So I've got no issue with Keane or Neville. I think they're brilliant pundits, and I do not think they're actually as biased as some think they are. It's just other outlets. It's more drumming up the big fixtures on TV. It's like, when you get the big trailers and stuff, it's like whether that, but that doesn't really, that's not really the actual story here. It's not as big a game as you're trying to make it out to be. But again, I understand why they do that, because they want people to watch their program. So I get it. But
All
yeah,
right, Rio Ferdinand then.
well, yeah, Rio, yeah, he's a wee little, he's a wee bit biased to Manchester United. But then again, I think I have seen him be critical at times. We're not trying to jump on individual.
They wouldn't ever blame their mate Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, though, would they? It was always that when that was happening, it was always the players.
I mean, it is always someone else's fault. Although I think Ten Hag is getting a little bit of,
well, get the yellow and green scarves out.
Yeah, I mean that's I mean, yeah, and obviously we've seen it with the takeover, and like you said, you mentioned the financial maneuvering that they've managed to do, which just adds to the frustration, I guess. Have you got a counter argument, or have I just won this one with ease?
I've thoroughly enjoyed whatever. I've thoroughly enjoyed slagging off Man United, to be honest. I can cope without 5 subs. Yeah, fine, take it. Can we just keep on slagging off Man United?
Yeah, I mean, we've done 26 minutes. We can just
credit to Amanda Staveley spending her birthday trolling Jim Radcliffe, or sorry, I say trolling, negotiating with Jim Radcliffe about Dan Ashworth's release. Yeah, I can see that going really well. I find that situation so funny, because everyone just expect for them to clubs to just do what they want and just roll over, tickle their tummy, and just do whatever you want. So credit to Newcastle for standing their ground and not just letting him go. It's not like we need the money to let him go or whatever. We can still hire a replacement as and when. But yeah, I think it's really, really funny that we're digging our heels in.
Yeah, and when that interest was first reported, then he goes on garden leave. The sense of entitlement that came out was unbelievable. Just let him go on the cheap. No. If you want to come and get the best in the business, then you're gonna have to pay for. I think he's quite good at what he does. But yes, well, your opinion, you've got to pay the price. If you want to get him out of his contract, you've got to pay the price. And just because you're Manchester United, you don't get any favors. He didn't do us any favors with Jesse Lingard, although alternative,
maybe they did.
Because it proved to be the right decision in the end. But the point being, that sense of entitlement just came racing to the top of the surface. So it is refreshing to see Newcastle United digging their heels in, and hopefully they'll get a large bit of cash for Dan Ashworth. But yes, this has been the easiest win possible. This has been like when a penalty kick taker runs up with a stuttering run up.
No, this was not a stuttering run up. This was a comprehensive, thunder strike into the bottom corner. Just a shame you couldn't just put Liverpool in there as well with your likes of Carragher and Souness. And
see, I'm not as up a height about it, because Liverpool have been at the right end of the table, as I said earlier. For me, Manchester United are at the levels of your Villa, of your Newcastle Uniteds, of your Brightons, of your West Hams. And, I'm happy for Newcastle at the moment to be at that level, because we're at the beginning of a project. I accept last season was somewhat of an overachievement. But, the Manchester United are never painted in that bracket. They are painted as someone who is always very nearly at the top, which it just is not true at all. And I'd just like to see a bit of honesty and a bit of consistency, and just be praising those who actually deserve it. And let's not be up and down, because that does my nut in. I can guarantee they beat Bournemouth, they get through to the final of the FA Cup, then we'll be talking about Manchester United being back. Then they'll go on a horrible run. They'll finish below Newcastle. They get thumped in the final, and it'll be crisis again. And that more than anything is one of the annoyances. It's just a constant up and down cycle, and
Well,
it just does nothing.
A cycle that needs to be broken as well is that we've never finished above Manchester United in the Premier League, so that needs to change.
It does. It does. You have to go back to, I think it's 1974, something like that. The last time they finished above them in the top flight. So, yeah, that has to change.
Is just a matter of time, though, to be fair.
Yeah, and I think it could happen this season. It all depends on how Newcastle do against Spurs, which at the time of recording comes tomorrow, and it all depends on how the Manchester United do against Bournemouth, which they play at 5:30 on Saturday. So, yeah, at the time of you guys listening to this, which will be the Tuesday after the weekend, hopefully Newcastle
someone else is injured.
Oh my God, who would it be? Should we make a prediction now?
No, every time we win a game this season, someone is injured.
Imagine Isaac. I don't want to imagine.
No,
let's not do this. Let's not do. We've had a great episode. Let's not bring it down. Newcastle will have beaten Spurs comfortably. Manchester United will have been thumped off Bournemouth, and West Ham will be doing something that won't benefit them either. Newcastle will be in that 6th place position. That's what I'm going for. Yeah.
6th or 7th, and I think that is, if we finish 6th or 7th this season, I think that is a tremendous achievement.
Is it a bigger achievement than finishing in the top 4 last season?
No, because to finish top 4, as Villa are finding out now, you have to be borderline relentless. You have to be relentless to win the thing, but you've got to be borderline relentless to even qualify, right? Villa have had a tremendous season and have looked shoo-ins for top 4 all season, but now they've had an odd wobble here and there, and they've lost a game or two that maybe they shouldn't, drawn a game that went 2-0 up at home to Brentford the other week, and now it looks like they may miss out on top 4, and that just shows you how big of an achievement it was that we got there and we stayed there. But to come through everything that we've had this season, to do what we've done, 2 domestic quarterfinals, Champions League, which really narks me. We really should have qualified out of that group. In the end, given we should have beat Milan at home. And to have all the injuries, all the suspensions, all that carry on, and to still finish in European places is huge. And hopefully it will provide a springboard into next season.
My fingers crossed. But this has been episode 9 of Get in the Bin. And getting in the bin this week is the media loving for Manchester United. The up and down cycle of them being back, them being rubbish, and then them being back, and then them being rubbish again. I've been Andrew Musgrove. He's been Sam Mulner. Hit subscribe. Give us a like and follow. Leave us a rating and review. Give this video a thumbs up. And for myself and Sam, we'll see you guys next week.